Alright guys, welcome back to Schmattz Outdoors. We're going to continue on kind of what I'm calling the In the Fur Shed series today. I had a few people ask me and want some details on how I make my coyote sets. I like to think I'm fairly efficient at it. I got a pretty good system down on how I make them. I'm not going to go over a ton of location things, but I am going to go over a few for you guys here. On how I picked this location. Again, I'll kind of just a little bit. I'm right in my yard here, so obviously this isn't probably the most ideal spot to be trapping coyotes, but I'm going to give you the general rundown of why I picked a particular spot, you know, the spot on the spot, let's put it that way. I do have a few options. I'm going to explain if I really was setting right here where I would actually move my set to. It just isn't going to be that good a spot to film right there, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to make my set right here and I'll go over why I picked where I did, but we're going to try and get you two different camera views, so I'll probably be switching back and forth a little bit. I'm filming on my phone right now, and I got my GoPro set up on my chest here, so we're going to try and get you a couple different angles. The GoPro will probably be most of the footage, just because you're going to be seeing exactly where my hands are being put and all that. Again, you can see behind me, I'm right in my yard here. I'm going to turn you guys around, and we're going to go over a little bit on the location of where I'm setting here and why I picked the particular spot I did. And then, like I said, if I'm going to explain where I would actually set if I was going to be making a coyote set to try and actually catch coyotes in the fall, or a couple locations that might work. So we're going to turn you around, and then I'm not going to go over everything that's in my bag. You're going to see most of it as I go through making my set. But again, I'm not going to go over in detail what each piece is. I already have a video. I think it's last summer I had a picture of me holding my pliers, my lineman pliers. I think it's called like the most important tool in my toolbox or in my bag. I stand by that. It still is my most important trapping tool, the one tool I use the most for anything. But anyway, I won't probably be using it today. I'll show you why I have it in my bag and how I can use it if I need to. But we'll turn you around. We'll show you a little bit of the location where I'm gonna set, and then if I was actually making sets here to try and catch coyotes in the fall, where I'd probably put my set. All right, guys. So again, I'm just in my yard. What I have here is there's a pasture behind this, you know, down the fence line, soybeans planted right here. I'm actually on my food plot for deer. We have a shelter belt that runs around the entirety of, that's the south side, and this is the east side of our yard here. Again, I got some soybeans for the deer. I'm going to plant brassicas here. That's why it's not worked up. If I was going to be making coyote sets, I look for several things. The corner up here where this grass line meets this tree line would probably be a decent spot up here in the corner on the other side of this digger. If I was looking for, you know, like two edges where they meet each other, two fence lines, two anything meet each other, that's a good spot to put a trap. I also like putting my trap right here because this is the east side of my yard. Our predominant wind's northwest wind, so it's going to be blowing this general direction. So by putting it right here, the scent of my trap my set is going to be blowing across this tree line. That works really good if I don't have permission on the other side of this tree line. Let's say, you know, if this is a fence line, sometimes I don't have permission on that side and I do on this side. I could put my set on the west side of a fence line or on the north side of a fence line and let my scent blow over the fence line, try and draw the coyotes to me. We're going to be making my set right here, and we're going to go over that a little bit. Another spot that would probably be a good spot, again, northwest wind's going to be blowing in our face as we're looking right now. So anywhere along this line would probably be an okay spot to put a coyote set, because the coyotes are going to run on the downwind side and scent check that whole edge. And I do get coyotes once in a great while. We'll walk through my yard here on my food plot, and I'm assuming they're coming down this side of this fence line, you know, and then going in across my food plot. But over here, if I was going to be making a set, I actually like right here by this tree, I would maybe try to put it, or right here on the very corner where it kind of meets my yard. I like by the tree because one, it gives me a landmark to look to see when I'm checking sets, like, oh, I know that my set is right by that tree, so I know where I should be looking when I'm looking with binoculars to try and find my set. The corner again would be a good spot because you do have two edges. Again, I don't expect coyotes in my yard, but right here on the corner would be a good spot as well. If I would, the number one spot, if I was going to be making a set here, would be over here on this corner someplace. I've went over a little bit this like last fall during my catch videos. So again, I got the edge of my shelter belt coming around, and I have this edge of my shelter belt. Again, I feel like the coyotes are going to be going on the outside of a shelter belt. They're going to be wind checking because again, our predominant wind is this direction, you know, out of the northwest blowing towards the southeast, and we're looking south right now. One thing that I like is anywhere right here on this corner would be a good spot. I do not actually like that this tree is hanging over quite so low, but you have to remember in the fall, so right now it's like maybe 3.5 feet off the ground. In the fall when there's no leaves, that's going to be up higher, and the coyotes will actually run right underneath this stuff. One thing that I will actually do, let's back up here again so you can see the whole thing. One thing that I actually like to do, so putting your set on this side because that's the side you expect them to run on. So putting it right in their face, right where their path of travel is, excellent idea. I actually prefer, with a predominant wind this direction, I actually prefer to move around the corner just a little bit. Like I'm not talking way over here. I'm talking like maybe 6 feet around the corner, put my set, and let it just blow across that corner a little bit. And I feel like it catches some of the animals that are coming this direction that may not actually go around this thing, but you're trapping this edge because you're in their path of travel, and then the wind is actually going to blow your set this, or the scent of your set this direction, so you should have a good chance of catching the coyotes this way. If you want to put two sets in location, which I do sometimes, on a spot like this, if I literally was going to set this and leave it through the fall to catch coyotes, I would put one trap here because I feel like there's not a high probability of coyotes coming through here. They may, but they may not. Again, you may catch one here like every other season or maybe every third season because I keep the coyotes thinned down around my yard, and there's better spots on our farm to trap than right here. So, but if I was going to put two sets, I'd probably put one like right over here, and I'd put one right over here. This one here I'd put a little bit tamer scents on, so I wouldn't use like a gusto over here. I'd use the gusto over here, just so the scent is blowing a little bit stronger scent. If I was setting over where we're gonna set, a gusto would be a perfect scent for that, because that real skunky smell is gonna blow through this tree line. You know, sometimes manufacturers call them like long distance calls, that type of stuff. Real skunky, you know, strong, powerful scents. If I can't trap the downwind side, the predominant downwind side, I will use that type of a scent on the upwind side of it. Again, now I'm on the west side of my tree line. I'd put like a gusto here and let it blow my scent across this tree line. Because again, the coyotes are scent checking on that side. If they scent check and they catch your skunky smell, they're gonna come over here. And I've caught plenty of coyotes doing that. All right, so let's get down to the spot on the spot here. So I'm going to make my set right here. And the way I come up with it, I would either try to get over here. So I'm looking for a backer, and I'm looking for a natural backer. If there's a rock here, some guys only like to have something 6, 8, 10 inches tall. I don't mind if it's a clump of grass even like this, because it's perfectly natural. The coyotes run by clumps of grass all the time. What I wouldn't want to do is I wouldn't want to put my set way back in here. Because you got this huge bush here. I think it's called wormwood. I hate this stuff. This will be getting cut down when I'm done filming, but I don't want my set way back in here because you have to like funnel the coyote in. You know, you're blocking him in terribly. Out here where I'm going to put my set is right here. Use this for my backing. I'm going to have my set on this side. they have all of this area to come up. They could come straight from the sides. They could come any direction, you know, because even they could come back here, you know, all the way to like here. So they have basically like almost 270 degrees they could come to my set. If I wasn't putting it there, you know, possibly using this little short bush here for a, you know, maybe put my trap like in this area or this area would work okay. Again, this little bush here, I like just these single quads of grass that are out from the main edge just a little bit. You know, like this is so similar. You know, I could put my set anywhere, put it here, put it here, put it here. But again, I like to have this little clump that sticks out. So the farmers, when they're working this stuff up, there's always little quad of grass out just a little bit from all the rest. You know, like this one here is too. This one here would make a very good backer. So this is actually just a little box elder tree that's been sprayed and worked under, so that's why it looks like it is. Putting my trap right here would actually be a very nice set. I really like that because the coyote's not going to step on this. You know, when they're coming from the back, they might be able to peek over, but I'm going to make my dirt hole in at an angle underneath that thing. So by standing over here, they still aren't going to really be able to see. They're going to have to get over in this area to actually see down into my dirt hole, and my trap would be like right here. Trying to scuff that up so you can kind of see. So right here is where my trap would be. My dirt hole would actually be right here where this little shadow is that my finger's pointing at. That's my backing. You know, so the animal is going to be out on this side. Even these little bit of dirt clods here are almost like a backing. The coyote doesn't want to step on a clump like this. It'd be like you walking around barefoot. You don't want to step on a rock either, and the coyotes are going to step around some of that stuff. So again, on this side, we're going to make my set using this clump of grass. I'm not going to trim the grass down. I'm not going to do anything to it, but we're going to use this little clump of grass as my backing. Because again, any animal that comes along, because there's kind of this grass stuff, most likely they're actually going to come along this edge and actually go out and around this clump before they go around that direction. So by having it stick out, like I said, it almost like focuses their attention into right here. And again, I don't want to have my set like back here or back in here, because again, they may not be running. They may run beyond. These are some thistles I sprayed. They could be running out here. If I got my set way over there and the wind's blowing this direction, they may not even see or smell my set back over there. And the same thing with like in here or over here. I want it out right where I feel like they're gonna travel. All right, setting on sign, very important thing. The trouble is, in my area, how would you ever see coyote tracks in that? You know, it's somewhat of a hard packed dirt. If it's freshly worked dirt, yeah, you might be able to see it, but I very rarely see coyote tracks. And as you guys have seen in my catch videos, I catch my share of coyotes and fox every year, and I'm setting just locations where I expect them to be. Typically, I can't see tracks. Someplace over this way, there were some deer tracks, but you couldn't hardly see the actual deer track itself. I might have walked on some of them now. Ah, right here. All right, before I point at it, can you guys see the deer track? It's actually right here. Again, that's a deer track. There's actually another one right here. And I can just barely see a deer track. You're never gonna see a coyote track if he goes by here. So I agree 100% with the guy saying set on sign. It's not usually practical for me. All right, we're gonna get you set up on my tripod. We're gonna get my GoPro running, and we're gonna get down here and actually make this set, and I'll kind of go through a little bit step by step on what I'm doing, you know, how I'm using my equipment and how I try to use it as efficiently as possible, that type of stuff. Again, I don't want to be so long-winded, but like I said, I feel like some of this stuff is important, and it's the stuff that guys are asking me about. So again, making the set itself won't take too long. I'm going to go pretty quick through it now. All right, guys, so I have my phone set up here, hopefully getting kind of a second angle from the side in case my hands are kind of blocking what you could see. I'm hoping that angle will get it for you. And then I got my GoPro mounted on my chest, so you should be able to see what I'm doing. If my hands start getting in the way, hopefully that camera will catch some of that for you guys. So again, already determined my location. I'm going to make my set right here, right in front of this thing. When I walk up to a set, my bag, my trapping bag, I have my bait and lures on this side of my bag, or my lures are on this side. Every time I'm walking out with my stake driver, a gray fence post, and my bag, I'm setting my bag down right here on this side of me. All the time. It's always right there. Reach in there, kneeling pad. Now I'm kneeling down on the ground. Like I said, I already determined this is where my set's going to be. We're actually going to break off a couple of these pieces of grass. I did that more so you guys could see. Not that I needed to do that for this particular set. I actually like the fact that there's this little clump of stuff right here. And I like that there's a little bit of clump stuff right here. I am going to try and leave that untouched. My trap is hopefully going to go right here, right in the middle. So my set's actually going to be at just a little angle because I don't want to disturb this natural clumps. Because the coyote ain't going to want to step on that stick. Again, bare feet, you don't want to step on it either. I trap using MB550s. So I got an MB550, shock spring and all that in there. There'll be a video coming out this summer on how I set up my trap, so I'm not going to go through all that now. I use cable stakes. There's already a video up on my channel of how to make my cable stakes. It's I believe 21 inches long, and I use a heavy duty Berkshire stake on it. For that stake driver, I just got a point ground on my stake driver that sets right nice into my cable stake to pound it in. One of the first things I do, peat moss. I usually set that kind of right up here on this side of my set. Trapping hammer, I set right in front of me. I use muffin wrappers. I grabbed a couple used ones. I use brand new ones for every set, every time I make it. So if I make a catch and my wrapper's laying there, I pick it up and I actually stuff it in this pouch of my bag, because that's I use that as like a garbage pouch. So before I start making my set, before I get anything on my hands, I grab a muffin wrapper, throw my bag back into my trapping bag there. I take my muffin wrapper and I ball it up because they're real crunchy when you first get them. So I ball it all up. I set it right over by my peat moss over there. So that's ready to go. Next thing I grab, I have a string in my bag. All I have is just a little loop tied on the end of it, or on both ends. Here's the other end. Next thing I do, I take my stake driver, slide this guy on there. Right here is going to be the middle of my trap. I take this and I get up, slide it onto my gray fence post, electric fence post. And what I'm doing is I'm walking away from my set. It doesn't matter where you put it. I have learned I want it in the brush, in the tree line. I tried last year putting it like out where I have my stake puller set, and I feel like that may have scared the coyotes away from my sets. So I put it out in, and you can see I have it pulled tight. It's pulled tight. I stick it in and I push it down. It don't have to be, 100 miles in the dirt, just enough so it stays there. Pull my string off. As I walk back to my set, I wrap it up in my hand. Okay. String back in my thing, right on top of where here's my string and my muffin wrappers. Sifter, I set on this side. All right, now we're to the business of actually making my set. So I have my sets marked over there. Before I start, one more thing I do, I use a My Trapping app on my phone. Before season, I may not have it right here, but I have a GPS located somewhere on this corner because I know that's where I'm going to put my set. I already have my trap figured out because I do use some Duke 4s and some Montana number 3s as well. And I use MB550s almost everywhere else. I have the trap figured out. I have my bait figured out and my lure figured out. So before I even get out of my truck, I check my phone, look up this particular set. I need to use this bait and that lure. So I already know that before I ever get down on my hands and knees what bait and lure I'm using at this set. If I make a catch, I put the exact same bait and lure here every time. No exceptions. I already have those scents. Even if you make a catch and the catch smears them all around, those scents are here. I'm using those same scents. I don't want to be using Gusto one time and using like Bounty Hunter the next time, or one of Hoosier Trapper Supplies like jet fuel here or something like that. Now I could have 5 or 6 different smells all at one set. And I don't want that. I want them focusing in on one scent. So I put the exact same bait and lure at my trap every time I remake it. So again, I already know what I have. I only have just a couple in my bag right now because I'm doing this demo for you. Otherwise I would have my bag full. Like I said, I did a video last summer on what's all in my bag. I only got a couple things in there, so I already know what I'm going to be using here. Make and set. Trapping hammer. I usually lay it right down on where I'm going to put my set. First thing I do is I set my trap. The way I set my trap, you can see how I have my hammer set at kind of a little bit of an angle, you know, kind of a V. Base plated traps, you just kind of set that base plate, the chain and everything sets kind of right in that corner. This side of my trap's on the handle, that side's on where you would dig. I could push down. I'm basically using my hammer to hold my trap out of the dirt, especially if it's like a farm field like this. If it's freshly worked up, that dirt is super soft. You could push your trap, you know, 2 inches into the dirt and you can't get it set. By setting it on my hammer, or once in a great while, I'll tip my sifter over and I'll use my sifter if the dirt is too soft. Okay, push down the jaws. I use this hand to hold it open, and I typically set it past so it isn't on the night latch yet. You can see how high it is. Okay, I leave it that high on purpose. It kind of, I feel like it makes the trap a little bit safer to work with. And then I just set it off to the side. All right, we're gonna start digging my hole for my trap here. One thing I do is I do have a cookie cutter for MB550s. I'm not going to show you how to use that. They're pretty simple. You just pound them straight in. The first day I'm setting traps, I typically have it in my bag because you can use it when you're making new sets. But once your trap is staked hard down, you can't use your cookie cutter because you're going to be cutting on your cable stake or your chain. So you can't really remake a set with the cookie cutters. You can make the set the first time with it, and they work very nice when you're cutting into sod or an alfalfa field, or if it would be an unworked farm field. The cookie cutter does work nice because they pound in fairly easily, and you get a real nice hard edge that your trap, so if something comes up and steps right by your trap, there's pretty hard ground there. It isn't soft. I'm not going to show you how to use that right now. Again, they're pretty self-explanatory. I take my hammer, I'm gonna dig my dirt hole like right here. So I'm just gonna poke my finger in so you can kind of see the spot. I want my trap about 8 inches to the center of my trap. On my hand, from right here to here is about 8 inches. I want that to be the center of my trap. So you can see that puts me about right here, 8 inches. Again, normally I don't mark my dirt hole. I already just kind of know where it's gonna be. 8 inches out, right there's the center of my trap. Take my hammer, I'm gonna just kind of start, and I kind of made an arc there, and we're gonna kind of make an arc towards me, and then I'm kind of chopping at an angle side to side here to make my edge of it. Sifter, try and get it as close as you can. I'm gonna just dig the dirt out, set it softly in my sifter. If you throw it in there, some of the loose dirt will go through your sifter. Okay? You can see I got a decent hole already there. Again, the more sets you make, you get fairly quick at realizing how big a hole you need to fit your trap. This is why I have my trap already preset. I could set my trap down in that hole, and you can see it's almost perfect. I need a little more on my lever on this side, and this side's probably okay. But I'm actually pretty solid side to side this way. My jaw is on, and this part of my trap, the base of my trap's on, and this part of my trap is on. So again, I can kind of twist that in there. That thing's actually pretty solid. There actually are times that I maybe wouldn't even do anything else with this. I would like this down just a little more. But that's not my entire hole. You can see how my hole's fairly flat. I start basically where this part of my trap would be setting in my hole. So if I put my trap back in there, about here, I don't need my trap setting on the dirt anymore because my lever's setting on the dirt and the end of my frame is setting on the dirt. So this part of the frame of my trap is sitting on the dirt. Same thing on that end. I start about right here and I dig down, and I'm digging down at least a good probably 1.5 inches all the way across. And I'm only digging probably 1.5 inches wide. We're gonna clean that dirt out. And I try to get a fair amount of that loose dirt out of here. And we're gonna take just a little bit on this side because my lever was still high. All right, so you could see I have, it's probably darn near 4 inches deep to the bottom of my hole here. That's very important for getting my chain and everything buried under my trap. And I'm going to show you why I do that. So again, the top of my trap is going to set up here. So I have a really deep bowl under my trap. I actually like the fact too, if you get a little bit of rain on your set, it actually gives a spot for the rain to kind of wash down into. And now I'm going to drive my stake down in there so you actually get a hole going down in the ground. So I do think if you get like real heavy rains, it does actually help keep your sets working. Because I do get freezing conditions, usually about 2 weeks into my season, it starts freezing stuff up. And by letting the water drain away, that helps keep, oops. So I tore my glove. One thing that I have, I caught it on my cable stake on my cable there. One thing I have is I have a bag, just a Ziploc bag with extra gloves in there. I do not take off my glove because your sweat inside your glove, and I don't want that sweat like flinging all over my set here. So I literally just take a new glove and I put it on right over the top of my old one. So again, I'm trying to keep, my gloves are basically keeping me from touching all this stuff. All right, we're ready to pound my stake in. I set my trap usually right on the end of my sifter, and basically all I'm trying to do is get my chain close to my hole so it's not dragging my trap from way over here trying to drag the trap. We're going to get my stake driver hooked onto my stake here. Okay, so you can see how you want your cable set in there. And then we're going to put my stake driver on. I pound my stake every time on the left hand of my little ditch I dug in the bottom of my hole. Get my arm out of the way. On the left end, every time, right in the corner. And you can see I have all my cable that I'm going to be pounding down in there is all loose, so I'm not dragging debris and everything else into my hole. Usually in my area, we got kind of a clay, heavy clay ground. I usually can push this in without hammering on it quite a ways. So you're probably not going to be able to see this real good, but I'm going to actually kind of get up and I'm going to push down on this part of my stake driver, and I'm going to push that in as far as I possibly can get it. All right, here we go. We're going to push down. So I'm actually like putting my entire body weight on that guy. Ugh. This ground is really hard. So I only got it in a couple inches. Trapping hammer. Right here I got my rod actually sticks up through. This is a homemade driver. It's just a 7/16 rod. Threaded on the end, so I have a nut on the bottom, this little plate, a nut on the top, and it's welded both top and bottom. All right, so I hope you can see I have that entire split ring and everything. I'm trying to keep my shadow out of the way, pounded completely into the ground down in my trench. So we're gonna just give my stake driver a little bit of a twist and pull. Okay, comes right out. I usually set that again right here on my left side. So now you could see, I'm going to just clean just a handful more of that dirt that kind of knocks in when you're pounding your thing. Hammer goes back in my bag because I'm done with the hammer. I take my trap now, and you can see, see the reason why I pound my stake in tight on that end is now you can see exactly how my shock spring wants to lay nice and flat. I feel like I need to move just a little. I'm getting a shadow here. So I just twist it around so you guys can see here. But you can see how my shock spring is laying nice and flat in the bottom of my trench. I take my hammer actually and kind of hold my trap up, and I just kind of tap that down into the dirt. The reason why I do that is now when I set my trap in here, now I just kind of push my trap down in. I'm right on top. I have that extra room underneath there for my chain and everything to set on top of there. All right, so we're ready to bury my trap here. First time I set my traps right away, I'm usually setting like the last week in October here in Minnesota. I don't always put peat moss under the spring levers of my trap, unless it's a trap I do think that might sit there a while without making catches. If they're in a good spot where I feel like they're going to be making some catches before it starts to freeze up, I typically won't put peat moss underneath them. For today's demo, I'm going to show you the peat moss underneath my trap, just like I'd be making it in like freezing conditions or if the ground was froze. All right, so you can see I basically bedded my trap, and I want to make sure my trap will bed. If it won't, then I'll dig a little more out or move a little dirt around, whatever I need to get my trap to set. I'm going to I go underneath my jaw, and I kind of pinch my pan underneath my thumb and my finger, and I kind of use my finger to help so it don't go down too fast. And I'm going to get my trap on the night latch. You can see it quick down. I know that it's nice and flat. We're going to set my trap kind of right by my leg. Peat moss, dried sifted peat moss. So I dry it over the summer and I sift it into 5-gallon pails, and then I just fill up. This is a gallon jug. I'm going to be using a brand new jug this summer or this next fall. I had to tape this one up, kind of busted it up during the season. Set my lid over there. I'm going to put a little bit of peat moss where my levers are and a little bit where the frame of my trap sits on the ground. So and I don't need a lot. All I'm doing is just trying to keep the levers of my trap from freezing to the ground. So you can see I didn't put a lot. There's maybe a 1/4 inch where my trap is going to set. Okay, kind of get my trap back in here. I like to kind of give my trap a little bit of a twist as I push it down, and that's how I kind of make sure. Oh, my chain is bound up under my trap. There we go. All right, my trap is nice and solid. Oh, could be just a touch more on that end. Nice and solid. I can push on that thing anywhere I want, and it doesn't move one bit. Okay, next thing, unwrap my pan cover. You guys can use whatever pan cover you like. I like these muffin wrappers. One, they're kind of decomposables, so I don't have to worry about leaving them there even though I try to pick them up. But you could see how like by crumpling it up, it doesn't make any hardly noise when I'm moving it around. I try to kind of get it level back off. I take and I tear a slit in my pan cover that goes around the dog of my trap, and I basically set that. You can see how my pan cover sets kind of nice cupped right over my pan. I typically hold my hand there to hold my pan cover in place and dump my peat moss over the top. We're going to spread it around the sides of my trap, over the top. Once I get a fair amount, I spread it around, and I'm trying to basically get this level without any of my trap showing or my pan cover showing. So you can see I got that pretty much leveled off with the ground that was there. I'm done with the peat moss. Cover back on. Set it right back over there. Okay, next step, sifting dirt. I use a sifter. I actually put a 1/4 inch wire screen inside of the typical sifters. I don't want dirt clumps, and I get, you can see the dirt's kind of clumpy here. So I use a little bit finer sift than what most people use, and I just have that mesh kind of pushed down in here. And I'm not putting a lot, so I'm just going to try and start sifting. And typically I sift about that high off the ground, right over it. I'm holding it up a little bit so you guys can kind of see. So I'm basically just trying to get my peat moss covered. That is completely it. I will go around the outside a little bit and kind of sift just a little, so it kind of blends it in a little. This whole area has now these little balls of sifted moss. Because I typically trap, in worked up fields, I take this dirt and fling it. You know, fling it out 10, 20 feet out in the field, as far as I can fling it typically. Sifter back in my bag. Now the peat moss can go back because it sits on top of my sifter. Trap is completely bedded, completely solid. Here's one little trick that I don't know if I seen this on YouTube or where I learned this, and I'm gonna try and get right down close so you guys can see what I'm doing. I go 2 little toes that way, 2 little toes this way, and make a little dab. So I hope you guys can kind of see I made a paw print. If you've ever seen coyotes run around in the snow or anything like that, they step almost in the exact same spot every time. You know, they'll front foot, back foot, front foot, back foot. Making a footprint just, I feel like, gives them a little bit of confidence that says, hey, I can step there and it's safe. There's several things I like about how my setting. I like this little bush right here by my leg, this. They're not gonna step on that. They're gonna try and step over that. The edge of my jaw is about right here, you know, maybe 2 inches from that thing. They're not gonna step right here. They're gonna try and step over it. There's another one over on this side. I hope you can see it's right here. This little dirt clod. If this little bush wasn't here, I will take just a little stick like this. A little stick like this. This is a chunk of bean stubble, and I kind of stab it in the ground at a little bit of an angle, right over my jaw. Again, the coyote isn't going to step on that. They don't want to step on the end of a stick. They're going to step around it. I think some guys kind of call this like a walk-through set. So you got backing on, you know, on this side, and you got backing on this side, and they kind of walk through it. So I will do that. I do that on almost every set. Because this little bush is there, I'm not actually going to do that. All right, we are ready to dig our dirt hole. I have 2 methods I'm going to show you quick on how I dig dirt holes. And then I'll show you what I'm using now, and I just started with it last season. And then I'll show you what I did before that. So here's what I got. This is a DeWalt hammer drill, the new 20 volt max series. I went an entire season digging dirt holes with 1 battery on this last season. This is an auger bit. It come like this much longer, and I cut it off because that's as deep as I need my dirt hole, and then it fits in my bag. So this is what I used pretty much the entire season last season. Once it froze up, that doesn't dig real good. This is what I used before that. It's a homemade, just a pipe with the side of cut out, cut at an angle on the end, and a handle on it. So what I do is I basically set that at the angle I want to start pounding my dirt hole, grab my hammer, and just kind of pound it in. And I'm not going to make the whole dirt hole with this. I'm just showing how that works. I went quite a few years. You can see how the dirt just kind of sticks in there, and it made me a nice hole. A little bit fell in there, and I would dig that out. I literally would pound that in 10 inches, you know, up to at least this collar on there, if not more. And then when I'm done, I just take the dirt, dump it out, throw it out in the field behind me. And then it goes kind of in my bag. That's short enough that the handle goes this way, and the pounder kind of sets along this side next to my sifter. I'm done with the hammer because I'm not going to use that. Using the drill, the only thing I found is by bedding my trap first, the drill does sometimes pull dirt over my trap. So I'll put my hand right here to kind of protect my trap. Stick my drill in, oh, spin the right way. The ground's quite hard. And then I typically pull this front little collar away. I'll clean out my hole a little if I have to, because again, it's... Ooh. So I usually drill in, pull out real quick, and it kind of throws the dirt. Again, I kind of push the dirt out to the sides. That didn't drill the prettiest hole in the world, but I'm in there, this deep in there. All right. So again, I kind of got my dirt hole made here. Now, I typically find a little stick. Doesn't have to be much. Usually bean stubble works really nice. You know, a chunk of corn stalk. Here's like another piece. Something about that size, 6 inches. This is about 4 inches and 6 inches long. First thing I do, my bait is always in the end pocket of my pouch. Grab my bait, open my container up. I set my lid upside down next to my hole. I'm actually gonna bait and lure this because I want to show you guys how much bait and lure I actually use. So I just scoop in there. All right, you can see about how much that is, I hope. It's about a good tablespoon or teaspoonful of bait. You know, about the size of a quarter. And I push that all the way in, and I push my stick and everything in as deep as I can get it down in my hole. Put the lid back on, back in my pouch. Open up the side pouch. Grab the lure I'm going to use. This is Dakota Line Snares Lethal Dose. I've had okay luck with this in the past. It's just the one I happen to have in my bag right now. Again, I would already know before I got out of my truck what bait lure. So the lure, again, this is the first time I'm using this for the season, so I stir them up at the beginning of the season. Then I take, and I want to get about that much. So you can see, I don't know, it's maybe the size of a dime, and I stick that right above my dirt hole. I'm going to try and make sure you guys can see. That little clump of dirt fell into my dirt hole. I put this on my backing, so I'm literally right above my dirt hole. So I'm right up in here now with my lure. My bait is down in the hole. One last thing and I'm basically done. Put my lure back in my bag. Again, my auger would be in my bag. As soon as I'm done with a tool, it goes right back in the bag. This bottle here, fox urine. I use red fox urine. I catch a fair amount of fox, and I feel like using coyote urine is going to shy them away. And I actually feel like using coyote urine is going to shy away coyotes sometimes, because if they're real timid pups, they may not want to come into coyote urine. So I just open the bottle and I give it a good squirt on that back. I don't know how well you could see that, but I don't know, I squirt probably 2-3 seconds, a good squirt, but it's on my backing behind my dirt hole. So when a coyote comes up to my set, all my scent is behind my trap. It's back over here. Like I said, I'm just kind of prettying up my trap set just a little bit. And again, I will take just a chunk of corn cob and just set it right there. Coyote isn't going to step on that. That's trying to help kind of funnel them over to my side of my trap. All right, set is done. I get up. I put my pad back in my bag. I will typically move it, and then right here you can kind of see where my pad was. I typically will just kind of brush that just a little with my hand, just to kind of break up the matted set. So there's my completed set. I pick up my stake driver, I pick up my bag, and I'm off. So I'd be completely done with this set. If I have like footprints or where my toes were digging in the ground, again, I'll just kind of brush real light with my hand to kind of level all that off. So my trap is right here. I have my little footprint right on the, so trap's right here. I have my little footprint right on the middle of my pan, exact center of my trap. Dirt hole right there. Again, I'm expecting the coyote to come up to the front, you know, this direction. If they happen to come down from the side, I still feel like they're not going to step on this. They're not going to want to step up here. They're going to step right here where it's the lowest spot. This little piece and this little piece sort of guide them from stepping here, you know, stepping on the jaw of my trap, trying to hope so they step right in the middle. Again, 100% completed set. I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to show you. Basically, it's just repeat of that same process. If I wasn't showing you guys on video, I can do that entire thing in about 8 minutes. You know, so I may not be the fastest at it, but I'm not probably the slowest at it either. 8 minutes. If I'm doing double set, I'd already, if I'm making 2 sets at one location, I use these latex gloves. These are Semperforce latex gloves. I use the same pair of gloves for both sets. What I do is I will bed my trap here, dig my dirt hole. I'll go over here and I'll dig my second trap bed, bed my trap, dig my dirt hole. I will bait and lure that one, and then I'll come back and bait and lure this one, and now I'm done. Again, I don't take my gloves off till I get back to my truck. I typically, you know, I can usually like drive, like, you know, my side-by-side. I can drive to there. I have a 5-gallon pail with the garbage bags wired in there so it can't blow out. I take these gloves off and I throw them in that garbage bag. When I go to pull my set, I don't typically do nothing with my Dirthole. I basically just walk up, I'm trying to get so you guys can see, and I'll just put my foot right in the middle of my trap. It's set off. I will grab it and pull. That sets my stake. So I don't actually set my stake. I let the animals set them. You know, if I can set it, as soon as the animal jerks on it when they're first caught, they're gonna set your stake. I got my pole bar right over here. So I just got a bar with 2 chain hooks ground off and then welded on there, about 6 inches and 18 inches up. I typically have, I typically have a 2x4 I use to help me, but I've also used my hammer. I will hook the pole bar in my split ring, pull up just a little till I can get so I can hook onto the cable, because I don't want to pull on my split ring or it will. I don't want to pull on my split ring or it'll actually like straighten out your split ring. And then I'll put my hammer underneath my pole bar and then pull. Grab the end of your bar and pull with your legs and then push. Oops, slipped off of my hammer here. Pull up, and then I'll hook it on the second hook, and typically I try to pull the opposite direction. Okay, and voila, that ground was hard, but pull my trap, grab my trap, pull bar, throw my hammer back in my bag, and away I go. When I'm pulling my trap, grab your fence post. If I can't find my trap in the snow or anything else, I just hang my little string out on my pole here, pull my stake driver, start poking it into the ground as I go. When you find your trap, it will set it off, or you'll hear your stake driver clink on your trap. That's how I find them in the snow and all that. So I have my fence post by every set, and I have my little rope I leave right in my bag all the time. Every set gets a fence post, and then when I go to pull them, I can use this if I need to find my set. But when I'm done, when my set's pulled, I just take my fence post with me. All right, guys, I think that's everything for today. I went through step by step. Again, I typically don't do anything with this when I leave. I just pull my trap and I get out of there. If the coyotes want to come and dig it up, I'm okay with that. To me, it almost educates them. One, there's a snack here if they want to come back and get it. And two, if they're here and they can get my bait and they don't get caught or it doesn't wise them up, when they come the next time, if they smell those same bait or lures or whatever, they're gonna feel a little bit safer. So like next season, if they come by my set again, I almost feel like they're gonna feel a little safer coming if they get a free meal. That's everything I got for you guys today. Leave comments down below if you guys do anything differently. If you have any suggestions for me. I know my Dirthole wasn't the cleanest Dirthole in the world. Had I not been videoing, I'd have probably tried to dig it out a little better, you know, and use my drill and drill down a little deeper. My dirt is dry. We're in the middle of the summer here, so it kind of caved in. The wetter dirt I have, the better each one of my hole tools work. When it's a little bit more powder like this, actually the one where I pound in works a little better because it almost packs out a little bit as you pound it in, and it kind of holds the shape of your hole better. I'm a small Dirthole guy, so I want like 1.5 inch, 1 3/4 hole. The smaller I keep my hole, the happier I am. Leave your suggestions down below. If you got any questions, leave those down below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys out on the line the next time.